Hello, my name is Sam Simon, and I am the editor and compiler of a book called Choosing the Public Interest, Essays from the First Public Interest Research Group. And these are people who went to work for Consumer Advocate and Ralph Nader in 1970. But that's 55 years ago. Actually, July 1st, 2025 will mark the 55th anniversary from the official start of what was known as the Public Interest Research Group. Now, for those of you who don't really know about Ralph Nader, let me take you just a second, or I'll be a little bit more in a second, a minute to remind folks that Ralph Nader in 1965 wrote a book called Unsafe at Any Speed. And what was remarkable about that book is that it advocated for a change around public safety, about responsibility of corporations who made products. In this instance, General Motors made an automobile called the Corvair. And the ethic at the time, the law at the time was people were responsible for using a product safely. And if it crashed or if it had a problem, they sort of had to prove that it wasn't really their fault, that it didn't matter how the product was made. Their job was to just be safe. But Ralph accomplished, and what people take for granted now, is the responsibility for companies to make products that will be safe as they will be used. And manufacturers are to anticipate how products are likely to be used. It doesn't matter if the speed limit is 55 and you're going 75 and the car flips over at 75. If the company knows that the car might be driven at 75, then it's got to work safely at 75. There are a lot of examples of that. What this book is really about, though, is what motivated people as they were graduating, in this instance, law school, say, I don't want to take the typical route. I don't want to go work, take the golden trail to the big law firms and make the most money and work and be a voice for big corporations. We were motivated by a sense of wanting to make a difference in the world, wanted to give consumers and the public a voice, and to work against injustices in the world that were happening in our face. We wanted to hold the government accountable for enforcing the laws as written and as intended to be written. And what was amazing, because we started off at a fraction of the salary we could have made had we gone into regular law schools, it's actually it was $4,500 for 1 year's worth of work. I happened to be married and had a kid July 1st, 1970. Most of the others were maybe married, but they didn't have kids. But what's amazing is that each one of us have a story to tell, and I hope you will get this book and read it. It is available on Amazon, of course, but it's also available at Watchdog Press. And if you go on choosethepublicinterest.org, you'll see a number of other places to get the book. This is an important book right now, and I hope if you get it and read it, if you're like me, a baby boomer, give it to your younger, maybe even your grandchildren who might be in college, or to your children who might be in a job and feeling that they need to do more in light of what's happening in our country today. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to read two things: the dedication and the introduction. Then next week, I'm going to read parts, if not my entire segment of it. Hoping you'll listen to it. Go to choosethepublicinterest.org and get a copy, or go to Amazon, or go to, as I said, I'm going to call it your favorite bookstore, or I think I called it Watchdog Press. Watchdog Press. Google Watchdog Press. So here's the introduction to the book. In 1969, Ralph Nader decided to begin a new phase of his consumer advocacy by forming a public interest law firm. His 1965 book, Unsafe at Any Speed, and a series of research projects brought him and his ideas into the headlines. The United States was experiencing numerous challenges in the 60s, from anti-war to anti-establishment movements. There were assassinations and campus shootings of demonstrators. And there was an emerging legal movement called public interest law. Its distinguishing feature was to pursue change and justice through legal reforms and challenges. Central to that movement was Ralph Nader's vision, the public interest law firm called the Public Interest Research Group, or PIRG, P-I-R-G, premised on using the legal system to bring accountability and change to both government and industry. The side effect of this vision was to create career paths for young lawyers who didn't particularly want to enter the world of corporate law and represent vested interests. At the time, working in the public interest was not a real choice for most law students. There wasn't a unique area of law or firms known as public interest law firms. Those groups that did exist did not have a presence in the recruiting offices of major law schools. In this collection, you'll read the essays from a group of lawyers that did the unlikely. If not the unthinkable. In 1969, late 1969 and 1970, they joined the first public interest research group, thereby becoming their own pioneers. Inspired by the vision, energy, and voice of Ralph Nader, they chose to follow their hearts. The 10 stories outline how they managed to follow the youthful passion to change the world for the better, take the enormous career risk, and show that change at a time when it was desperately needed could be made by pursuing the rule of law, not violence. The perception of many in the late 60s and early 70s, much like today, was that democracy itself and the future of America were unstable and uncertain. This group chose to try and rescue the system through pursuit of legal remedies and advocacies, upholding the rule of law. They sought through their actions not to dismantle the government, as some have suggested, but instead to make the government work as intended, free of undue influence by special interests. They envisioned a public voice at the table. Each of these essays presents a unique journey. You'll learn what inspired us to join PIRG, what we did, and how that choice inspired the rest of our lives. Sadly, two of our colleagues authoring essays in this collection, Donald Ross and Karen Ferguson, two of the brightest lights of our cohort, passed away during the writing process. Luckily, their pieces remain behind to pay tribute to their contributions. All of us were fundamentally changed by our experience pioneering Ralph's public interest research group. Now, more than 50 years, actually, 55 years, we hope to demonstrate that a career as a public interest lawyer, and I would add a public interest advocate at any age, can also provide paths to meaningful and fruitful personal lives, inspire others to take the lead. It's signed by the late Karen Ferguson, the late Donald Ross, Charlene Krantz, Peter Petkus, Karen Sheldon, Sam Simon, Thomas Danton, Robert Vaughn, Chris White, Joan Nee Katz Woodward. Now, there is a dedication that I also want to read because we have lost others who were in that early group. We also lost early on James Welch, Jim Turner, and Jim Turner and Andy Spinogle. So knowing what's going on in America today will tell you that it is more urgent than ever for young people to use the system, to be lawyers, to be advocates, to write articles. Writing and publishing has had a huge effect and did back then in influencing people, teaching people how to be present, to help institutions, help law firms. It isn't just, you don't just have to be a lawyer. You can be a plaintiff. You can be one of those filing the lawsuits, being represented by lawyers today. Unfortunately, so many people, particularly the thousands and thousands of federal workers being unjustly fired from offices and from the federal government. Then all of a sudden, there's all these people who've been working in different projects, but the funding disappears from abruptly, unexpectedly being laid off. So I urge you to go to the website, choosethepublicinterest.org, and check us out and order the book. And you can reach me. I'm Sam Simon, and you can reach me at samuelasimon@gmail.com if you want to ask a question or get some more information.